You're watching France 24. It's time now to take a look at the international newspapers, and that's in the press review with James, who's right here in the studio. Hello again.
Good morning, Marcus. So the front page of a lot of the papers around the world this morning are having headlines such as this: West is ready to use force against Gaddafi. We'll have a look at the front page of The Guardian with a similar theme: US tightens military grip on Gaddafi. So last night, basically what they're saying is the West was edging towards a military confrontation as the US deployed naval and air force units around Libya. Now, of course, there's a big caveat on all of that. They're basically, what the US is saying is no option is off the table. But of course, it would require a UN Security Council resolution to intervene militarily in the country, and that is far from given, with Russia and China probably being a lot more reticent on that. Now, if we have a look at the International Herald Tribune, the I suppose phrase that is coming up again and again regarding this is a UN sort of doctrine, responsibility to protect. Now, this was a doctrine voted in back in 2005 unanimously by 150 heads of state, and it basically is a norm which says that sovereignty is not a privilege, it is a responsibility. So if that responsibility is being abused, and if crimes such as genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity or ethnic cleansing are thought to be taking place, then the West sort of has a right to stop that from happening.
Community, I suppose.
Exactly, the international community sanctioned by the UN Security Council.
Well, the US UN ambassador Susan Rice, she's certainly been talking tough on Muammar Gaddafi. She said that he's responsible for slaughtering his own people, and she basically said he's unfit to lead. Those are very strong words coming out of Washington.
They certainly are. And indeed, what they're saying in this article in the International Herald Tribune is that effectively he's already lost control over the territory of his country. So the UN should extend recognition to the provisional government instead, and even authorise an EU or African Union force to go into the country. So they're really taking this doctrine to its ultimate conclusion and saying the UN should vote a further resolution to allow intervention. This is a test case for the Security Council and its implementation of the responsibility to protect. Now, if we move to the Financial Times, they're much more reticent in this regard. They're saying whenever things like this happen, cases of atrocities such as this, everybody always says never again. Now, when they say never again, what he's saying is, do they mean Rwanda, Srebrenica, where you had terrible war crimes and perhaps there wasn't intervention fast enough? Or there's another never again, that's the Iraq War, where the West did intervene and overthrew an Arabic dictator. And what they're basically saying here is that that's the never again that should be remembered most prominently.
Well, we see there the headline, better for Libya to liberate itself. But I suppose the problem is when people say never again, each of these situations are so fundamentally different that it's difficult to translate what went on in Srebrenica, for instance, that you mentioned, and Rwanda, right, to the Libyan situation.
Exactly. Each case is very distinct, I suppose, one from the other. But yes, basically the Financial Times is saying, leave this to the Libyans. And basically, you don't want the hopes of the future of the Middle East will now be determined by ordinary citizens rather than by local dictators or outside powers. That is the hope.
All right. We're also seeing that story on the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
This is on the front of the Wall Street Journal, that story, but also Mr. John Galliano, who is the head designer for Dior, and basically is accused of coming out with an anti-Semitic slur at a Paris bar called Le Perle last week. There's also video, if we have a look at The Sun, which appeared on The Sun's website, of perhaps another racist slur a couple of months previously. So basically, he's not doing very well. He's meant to be at Dior's fashion show on Friday because he is, of course, the head designer for Dior, and they've got a big fashion show this Friday.
Well,
so very embarrassing.
Him, right?
It's pending the outcome of this case. So it's extremely embarrassing for the Dior fashion house and not very good for their image. Now, another, I suppose, a question of image that is in a lot of the blogs and internet websites today is the Oscar hosts, Mr. James Franco. There's a lot of speculation as to why his performance was substandard. If we have a look at just some of those headlines in The Week, the 5 theories as to why he wasn't up to it. Was it just an ineptitude? Was it down to perhaps marijuana, as some people are speculating? Let's have a look at this headline in Gawker. Was James Franco stoned at the Oscars? Now, of course, there's absolutely no proof of that whatsoever. The Huffington Post prefers to blame the writers. They're saying it's not just, perhaps poor performance. It was a poor script. It was a badly scripted performance. So they're blaming the writers. But I suppose you can't blame the writers for 25 weird faces, as Jezebel points out online. They're saying that he had 25 really weird, strange kind of facial contortions. And I suppose in that case, really, it's not really the writers who are to blame, is it?
Absolutely, but at the same time, I can't help but feel a bit sorry for them. They're actors after all. They're not TV. They're not TV presenters. At the end of the day, they're not really used to that live element.
It's not exactly the same
They're
thing.
not like you and I, James, are they?
We'd have done a much better job, Marcus.
Exactly. Oscar committee, please call us up next year.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks very much
Cheers.
indeed, James Creeder, for bringing us the headlines in the international newspapers this morning.